Hi guys, welcome back to another Yoga for Mums class. My name's Bettina, if you haven't practiced with me before. So this class is going to be for beginners. So if you've never done yoga before, or perhaps if you've done yoga maybe whilst you were pregnant, but you haven't been back to it for quite a while, or even for those of you who have been practicing for quite a while but sort of need to get back in touch with that beginner mind, this class is going to be for you. So some of what I go through might be very obvious if you've been practicing for a while, but remember when you were brand new to the practice, a lot of these things would have been helpful to know. So sometimes we come into a class and it's not just for beginners, and we maybe spend a few weeks wondering, what's that for? What's this for? Why do we practice without shoes, etc. Okay, so I'm really going to take you back to basics today, starting with what you need to start a yoga practice. So what do you need to practice yoga? Basically, just yourself. Yes, we can use a mat, we can use a block, a strap, we can buy some yoga clothes, but at the end of the day, really all you need is your body and whatever you're wearing. It doesn't really matter if you have workout gear or you're in your pajamas, it doesn't matter at all. So we can think of yoga as the physical practice, which a lot of us do, but there is also the mental practice of yoga, the spiritual practice. There's also the breathing and meditation, and all of this becomes yoga once we've become more advanced. But to start with, most people start with the asanas, so the moving on the mat. So obviously, you may want to invest in a mat. You don't need it, but it does tend to make your practice easier. It's not just about making it more comfortable, but getting a good mat means your feet won't slip on the floor. You may want to invest in a yoga block. So I often use it when I'm sitting, so for any pranayama, so any breathing work or any meditation, I like to sit up on a block so that my hips are higher than my knees. It makes my pelvis tilt forward, and it means I can sit up straighter without really having to use a lot of those muscles quite strongly to lift up. So especially as a mum, if your pelvis is quite sore, or maybe your back, it can really help to just lift the bottom up a little bit when you're sitting. That being said, a cushion, a book, a phone book especially, anything like that, even a little children's step, that will work to sit up on instead of a block. You don't actually have to buy the yoga block. Bolster, again, when we're doing any lying poses, lying over a bolster can be really nice. But again, you can use a pillow, you can use a cushion. You don't have to go straight out and buy a lot of things to start practicing yoga. You just need to set the intention to do it and get started. We also sometimes use a strap, but again, I don't have one with me at the minute, but you can use a belt or a scarf, just anything long, a piece of string, a ribbon, anything that just extends the reach of our arms, basically. So we can use things that we find around the home in our yoga practice to allow us to move into the poses that we might not be able to get into otherwise. All right, so let's get started. A very gentle beginner's flow today, and hopefully this starts to get you a little bit more confident in your yoga practice if you've never practiced before. Let's get going. Namaste. All right, so the first thing that I would suggest any beginner learn when they're starting a yoga practice is how to breathe. So it may sound silly, especially if you're really focused on the physical benefits of yoga. You're thinking, how do I get into those poses? How do I do those fancy tricks? But I once heard that without the breath, yoga is just making funny shapes. So I really feel like this is true, and it's the breath that's going to get you deeper into the poses. It's the breath that's going to bring you those mental benefits as well. So it really is worth focusing on the breath to start with, getting it right, and then being able to use that breath throughout your practice. So when we're moving through the asana, through the poses, we use what's called an ujjayi breath. So basically it's on the out breath, making a sound, except the mouth is closed. So we breathe in and out through the nose, and on the exhale, we make that sound, but we make it with the throat. So we constrict the muscles slightly to create that sound. So we inhale through the nose, And exhale through the nose. Inhale. And exhale. So it's also worth noting that as I breathe, I'm conscious of my lungs, not just in the upper chest. So during our life and our daily activities, whatever we do, we can often get stuck breathing up here. So it's a short little up here, and that's a really stressed sort of breathing. And some of us breathe like that all the time. And just by taking a full deep breath, we can start to notice already everything starts to relax. So when you breathe, see if you can breathe in. Feel the top of the chest, feel the side ribs, feel that lower belly, and then exhale and feel all these parts release. So inhale, feel the belly, side ribs, all the way to the top of the chest, and then exhale, letting it all go. So just take a few rounds, deep breathing, feeling the lungs fill completely. All right, so that's your first tool of yoga, the breath. The second thing I'd like to bring your awareness to is the alignment of the body. So one of the biggest things that yoga has brought to my life is an awareness of how my body should actually be aligned. So I know for many of us, we sit around computers or hunched over children or work, and our spine is round, our shoulders are round, and you notice what this is doing to me is it's constricting my breath, so it encourages that short, sharp breathing. My core is not activated, my pelvic floor is not activated because it doesn't need to be, it can just hang out like this all day. But in order to align everything, my core needs to activate, my pelvic floor needs to lift up, the muscles of my back need to draw the shoulders back and down, my head lifts, and suddenly I can breathe into those lungs fully. So when you start noticing how you hold your body and the alignment that you hold it in, you also start to notice benefits to your breathing, which then affects your stress levels because you're able to get full deep breaths. It also affects how you interact with people because getting around and approaching life like this is very different to approaching people and life like this. So I'm sure you can notice the difference immediately just by how you feel. There's been a study done that big, open, expansive movements make us more positive, make us more confident, and going into a situation, presenting yourself like this is really different to presenting hunched and really closed in, more of that protective stance. So that's just a little bit of alignment. I'll show you throughout poses how to really focus in on that alignment. So let's come first to a basic up cat, down cat, and look at some alignment there. So if we come to tabletop, so knees under hips and hands under the shoulders. So here we press into the floor with the palms. So the palms press in, all 10 fingers press in, and the knees and feet press into the floor as well. So it's never about just sort of being here, it's all about pressing that floor away and really earthing into the ground. So you'll notice here, I could let my belly sag. I can let it go. So 2 babies will do that to you. I do carry a little bit of extra weight. I do carry a little bit of extra skin in this area. So if I release those muscles, I get a little bit of hang. But correct alignment and really activating that core means I can draw it in and up. So all of these muscles tighten up, draw that core in, and it feels better across my lower back when I do this. So as we inhale, let's lift the tail, lift the head, let the belly drop. And as you exhale, breathe out through the mouth, looking back towards those thighs. So inhale, lifting up. Exhale out through the mouth, back towards the thighs. Once more, inhale, so keep pressing the floor away. Exhale, back towards the thighs. And then release the spine back to neutral, keeping that core activated. So again, pressing the floor away, shoulders drawn back and down. So that is our good alignment. So this connection between the core, connection between hips, shoulders, between the crown of the head. And we'll practice this alignment throughout all of our other poses. So let's tuck those toes under now, press the floor away, lift the tailbone high and come up into a down dog. So probably one of the most commonly known poses. Draw the elbows in. Don't worry so much about getting those heels down. Bend the knees, lift that tailbone high, and then draw the heels towards the earth. So it's quite early in the morning here, and often in the morning my legs and my hamstrings are quite tight. By nighttime I can actually get the heels down, but the focus really shouldn't be about touching. Of course I could step forward and here I am, but you'll notice I'm not getting that alignment through the tailbone if I do that. But if I bend, lift, suddenly I'm making a triangle with the floor, and that's the shape I want to be focusing on. So just stay here and breathe. Again, pressing the floor away with the palms, with the 10 fingers, drawing those elbows in, shoulders back and down. And just reconnecting with the Ujjayi breath here. So from our down dog, we're going to come up to stand and work through some sun salutations. So bend into those knees, look towards the hands, and just step forward. So you may need to take more than one step to get there. Find our forward fold. We bend into those knees so that the chest is almost touching the top of the thighs, if not actually touching. So the top half of the body is completely free to move. Free to sway, there's no tension through my neck or shoulders. And again, we ground down through those feet. So press all 4 points of the feet. So the knuckle of the big toe, the little toe, the outside of the heel and the inside of the heel all press into the earth. And just let those arms hang. You might like to interlace the fingers on the elbows. And just reconnect with that Ujjayi breath. So you can have the option here of keeping the feet together or taking them quite wide. If you're joining this practice whilst pregnant, you're definitely taking them wide to create space for the belly. And then we're going to slowly rise to stand. So we're going to bend further into those knees, release the hands, and ever so slowly feel like you're stacking the muscles of the spine all the way on top of each other, rolling the shoulders, drawing the shoulder blades back down into the ribs, head coming up last. So we connect here with our mountain pose. So it's called the foundation of all poses. When I first started yoga, I thought, how? It's so basic, you're just standing there. And yes, right now it probably does feel quite basic, but it wasn't until I connected in with, all right, so that alignment follows through to every other pose that I understood why we really need to get it right here. So it's not just about hanging out in your bones. So I like to call hanging out your bones where you're just here and you just, however your body hangs and stands basically. But there's a difference between hanging out your bones and really connecting with the earth, so getting a strong foundation, strong core, and then being able to express the body in a way that's really positive. So if you stand into the feet, take the feet to hip distance. So again, all 4 corners of the feet press down into the earth. The muscles of the calves draw up. The muscles around the knees tighten and draw up. The core lifts in and up. The tailbone gently draws down. So you'll notice you may tend to be a little bit, this is obviously an exaggeration, but some people walk around with a little bit of a duck butt, I guess. The bottom pokes out. Some people walk around with it tucked too far the other way. You want to really find a balance between core drawn in and tailbone tucked. So really keeping that alignment and that strength here, especially for us mothers. This area tends to be a lot weaker, so bringing our awareness right from the start will mean you're less likely to cause any sort of injury in other poses. So then feel the muscles of the spine lifting all the way up to the shoulders and then draw them down. So these shoulder blades here, the scapula, will draw into the top of the ribs. Draw the hands down towards the earth so that helps those shoulders really draw back and down. And then feel like the head is being lifted by an imaginary piece of string. So really connect in with how this feels, pressing the floor away, lifting the head up high. And that's the alignment you're going to want to bring to the rest of your yoga practice. Let's bring the hands to prayer now. So we're going to come to a sun salutation now, which is often where, as beginners, we're first taught. It's a bit of a sequence that follows the same pattern and that we can use to structure our yoga practice. So as you inhale, we take the arms up. And as you exhale, bend the knees, fold forward, find forward fold. Inhale, bow pull. So bring the hands to the shins, straighten out the legs, straighten out the back, look forward. So really lift through that heart. Exhale, fold. Inhale, step or jump those feet back. Take the knees down. So set those hands underneath the shoulders. So we're going to work with the knees to really get it right through the shoulders first, right through the arms, and make sure our core is strong enough to maybe lift the feet up in a couple more rounds later. So draw those shoulders back and down like you did in your Tadasana, your mountain pose. And then as you exhale, squeeze the elbows in, lower the body down. Inhale to Cobra. So the back lifts, the hands aren't doing much here. I can still lift my fingers. They're not pressing the floor away, making it too intense. And then as you exhale, press, lift back through the knees, tuck the toes under, and lift up into down dog once more. So feel free to go slow, find how it feels good for you. Use this pose as a pause, and then take the knees down to the earth. So knees can be together or apart, depending on whether you're making room for a belly or whether it just feels good to take those knees apart. Take the hands towards the heels, rest the forehead down, and find child's pose. So on the next inhale, stretch those arms forward. Gently lift the head, tuck the toes under, and lift back up through down dog. So try to keep breathing your Ujjayi breath. Try and stay connected with the breath so that each movement moves with either the inhale or the exhale. So as you inhale, bend the knees, look towards the hands, stepping forwards. Exhale, forward fold. As you inhale, we're going to slowly start to take a seat, lift the arms up into our chair pose. So a nice balance here between the lift and the lowering. The core is activated, so again, gentle tuck with that tailbone, and then inhale all the way up to stand. Exhale, hands through heart. So we're going to move through our warrior sequence now. So inhale, lift that right leg and step it back. So just work through a high lunge to start, just to get the feeling through the hips. So our high lunge, our feet are on train tracks. So don't worry so much about having them in line. You'll notice, especially if you're brand new to yoga, being in line will be, want to fall over. So take them out wider. Really give yourself a wide base to balance on when you're first starting. Inhale the arms up and then exhale into that front leg. So this one can be done with that back knee down if you need. So our high lunge stretches into this front hip. The arms are working strong as we lift them above the head. So we can turn high lunge into our warrior one by simply dropping that outer edge of that back foot and heel down towards the earth. And you'll notice it opens up this hip further. And it wants to turn to the side. What you're going to do though is draw those hips, draw the shoulders back towards the front. So you could stay here, you can add those arms. They can be up above the head, maybe into the heart, maybe interlace those fingers into the elbows and really open up through the chest. So however you like to practice your warrior one, keep the breath flowing. Keep bending strongly into that front knee. Can't talk today. And keep pressing down with the outer edge of that back foot. Inhale, hands through heart. We're going to step the hands down and step that front foot back, finding down dog. Exhale. And then inhale. This time we're going to shift that right foot forwards. Take the foot out a little bit, making sure we've given ourselves a wide base. Draw the heel, the outer edge back down and rise up this way. So we can enter our warriors from the floor or from standing. And the pose is still the same, still front knee tracking towards the toes, still opening the body towards the front. So some may find their hips naturally won't draw forwards, or they might just be tight to start with. So just work with where your body's at. Then we'll move it to a high lunge, so lift that heel up. Exhale, lower down a little bit further. And breathe. And then on the exhale, we're going to lower those hands all the way down. Step that front foot back. So to step it back, you really press the palms into the floor so that you can get a bit of space in this area. So the core lifts the leg all the way back. And draw those heels back down to the earth. Lift the tailbone high. We're going to come all the way down into a low squat. So turn the toes out. As you exhale, slowly start to take a seat down. If you're really new to yoga, this is going to feel really weird on your hips. Some cultures sit like this all day, every day. You may like to grab a block, ease the stretching a little bit so you can still open out through this area without all the strength needed as well. Or you can stay up on the feet. So just stay here and breathe. Pressing those knees and elbows together. So the elbows press to open and the knees gently press in, just so that the muscles are active whilst they're stretching. Press the feet into the floor so that you can get length through that spine and draw the shoulders back and down. All right, so we often finish our yoga practice in a pose called Shavasana. So it literally means corpse pose, which may sound a little bit crazy. At the end of some sort of exercise, you may feel like passing out, but that's not what it's about. It's just about really letting the body have some time to completely rest and letting the mind have some time to be completely still. So you may be tempted to rush out at this point and think, I'm done, let's get out of here and finish my exercise for the day. But when you make that shift between seeing yoga as just the physical and then seeing it for its mental benefits as well, Shavasana is the pose for the mental benefits. So give yourself that time to just lie down, make yourself comfortable, use cushions, whatever you need to really allow the body to just sink and relax. And take that time, just as we did in the beginning with the Ujjayi breath, to just breathe slowly in and out through the nose. You can let go of the Ujjayi sound of the ocean if you like, or stick with it if it allows you to anchor that mind and stop the monkey mind chatter going on that tends to happen when we're still and quiet. If you have children around you, you can still practice Shavasana. It's going to be more challenging because you're going to have to tune them out. If they're climbing over you, just bring the awareness back to the breath. I promise you it will be beneficial to you to practice this when you get to that arsenic hour and you're trying to make dinner and everyone needs something at once. If you can breathe and focus on your mat, hopefully it will translate into the kitchen and into the rest of your life as well. So I'm not going to head into Shavasana now. I'm going to leave that to you to start practicing on your own. If you do want a more guided meditation, I do have a Meditation for Mothers guide, so you can download that, or there's some other free downloadable meditations on my website. So there's that option as well. You can separate it from your physical practice if you want to save it for quiet time tonight once the kids are in bed. I hope that this practice today maybe explains some things for you if you've never done yoga before, or maybe if you've been doing my videos but haven't been quite sure about some things. I hope that taking the time to really focus in has shed some light on some of those really common poses that we tend to do in every yoga class. So let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to focus on. So this was a request from someone to really focus in on that beginner practice. I'm always happy to take requests for these videos. I'd rather make something that's useful to you than just what I think is useful. So hopefully I'll see you next week. I have a video coming out every week, fingers crossed, as long as babies sleep. Thanks for joining me. Hit subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube so you catch the next video, or jump over on Facebook or Instagram and say hello. Namaste.